Greetings and salutations, everyone. I am, as always, darthdevious, bringing you another video review, this time from Transformers Generations 30th Anniversary. It's Blitzwing. And I know there's a lot of controversy with this figure. I don't care. I like it. I did some fixes to it. We'll go over that. Not going to show off the transformations. I'll show off all the modes. I'm going to compare him to his G1 self. Stuff like that. But if I do the transformations, we're going to be here forever. I will give some tips for helping you with your transformations, but you know. Alright, let's zoom in. You can read that bio if you want on your own time. You can see on the back there's his tech spec back down there if you want to read that in a G1 style tech spec. You can see his two alt modes, tank mode, jet mode. There's his robot mode. Has 3 faces. Most of you know this stuff already. Alright, let's get the box out of here. And come on down here. Here he is in his tank mode. And you know, this is not a bad tank mode. You know, for a triple changer, they did a pretty good job. I mean, it's hard to engineer a triple changer and have it be perfect. Alright? There's always going to be something from the other modes showing up. Like on the back here, you got, you know, tail wings, things like that. There's the nose cone, but you're not going to look at it like that. You're going to look at it like this. And from this angle, it's not bad. You know? Sure, it's gappy in places, but, you know, they try to fill some of it out. And this turret does swing. The gun can raise and lower if you want it to, if you don't have the weapons on there. Now, a lot of people have trouble pegging this together right, and P.O. pointed some of this stuff out in his review of this figure. The way this figure is engineered, sometimes you have to take the leg sections, which are here, and put them in at an angle and lift them up, because a lot of the connecting points depend on this one T-joint that is in here, and I'll show you that T-joint real quick. See this T here? You really gotta kind of come into an angle here, a slight angle, and lift it up, and then you can usually get it to peg in right. See? And that holds. It's not popping apart. You know. Well, that's not too bad. Of course, I popped that, so there you go. And now we're bringing G1 Blitzwing. As you can see, the new one is far larger. Far larger. The old one wasn't without its, you know, little kibble problems and stuff like that you know, everyone complains about on this one. I mean, here's the nose cone and his face from the G1 one. So, you know, yeah. I am never going to complain about a triple changer. They're not perfect, but you're getting 3 modes out of them. That's just awesome. So give me a minute. I'm going to turn them both into plane mode. We'll look at the plane modes together. Alright? Be right back. Alright, here's Blitzwing in his plane mode. And it's not a bad plane mode. I mean, it's got its problems, sure, but, you know, you can almost imagine it with these big things on this top here as an evil version of Jetfire, you know? You almost imagine these as, you know, intakes. And I think that's what the problem is. I think a lot of people nowadays don't have as much imagination when it comes to Transformers. Because the G1 figures, you needed, on some of them, you needed some imagination. Really. You know, like old Atari games. You needed imagination to do things. Anyway. It's not bad. It's gappy, but, you know, I'll compare it with the G1. And, you know, I didn't show this in tank mode, I forgot, but you can fire the missile by pushing the turret in, the gun barrel. It's a nice little, you know, added feature. Doesn't have any rolling landing gear. He's got molded gear here. He does have one in the nose that moves. It's pretty much just for display purposes. As you can see on mine, the nose is holding in nicely. I took the spring out of the head. If you take the spring out of the head still holds up fine. The spring wasn't even necessary on this guy at all. And that's where a lot of people had the problem with the nose cone. I mean, yeah, the nose cone's a soft rubber, but the problem people were having was the head, which is right under here, had too much force from the spring pushing it backwards, and it was just unseating this too easily. Also, a lot of people had problems, you know, pegging him in together here. Again, there's another, I'll show it off if I can do it. There's another little T-joint right here that goes into that same spot that it did on tank mode that this one went into. And again, if you put it in an angle and lock it in there, then you can get that back one to lock in, and he's fine. It's this figure. It's almost like you have to massage him into the different modes. Once you know what you're doing with him, he really is a fairly fun transformation. You know, there's some headaches involved, but not much. I've seen worse. I like how the little winglets here extend the wings out to make him, give him a little bit more bulk. Alright, that's not too shabby. Alright, we'll bring in G1. As you can see, again, the G1 is much smaller. And, you know, for people complaining about the turret on the bottom, the gun on the bottom, yeah, you need to have this sit properly in jet mode. You had to keep the turret underneath in the G1. But the G1 did have one advantage. It has a rolling wheel up here, though mine's kind of stuck with age. This is an actual original G1. This isn't like a knockoff. Yeah. Repro labels on it, though. Just so you know. You can see, not too bad together. You can see where they were going with with all the modes on this. All right. We're going to get him to what I think is the best mode of the three. We're going to put him in robot mode, because that's where I think Blitzwing really shines. So, we'll be right back. Okay, here's Blitzwing in his robot mode. And this was the mode everybody had the biggest issues with. As far as, like, you know, the shoulders and stuff like that. And as you can see, mine worked nicely. Now, I did do the fix where you unscrew all this back part and you shave down in here all the plastic and stuff to bring the chest pieces closer together, because that's how it was originally designed. And these were meant to lock in, and as you can see, they do lock in now. Yeah, it took some work, but you know, it wasn't that hard. And there are tutorials for it all over TFW 2005 on how to do the fix on him. It's not that hard. All you pretty much need is an emery board and a little screwdriver like this, and you can, you know, have him in a much better condition than when he comes out of the box. Because out of the box, he was a mess. But once you do the little fixes and little tweaks to him, he actually is a really good figure. You can see here he's got his head. Like I said, I took the spring out. Yeah, it still sits nicely because it does click in place. Gimmick on it. You guys know what the gimmick on it. Well, let's look closely at each one of his heads here real quick. I'll zoom in. Come on. Now this is his G1 cartoon head. And to me, that's my favorite. That's Blitzwing right there. The other two are homages to Transformers Animated. You spin it and you get the crazy Blitzwing head from Animated, and you also get the monocled head from Animated. They're nice, but I think they weren't necessary. I mean, if you're going to do a G1 homage to Blitzwing, do a G1 homage to Blitzwing and just leave it at that. So I always leave him with the G1 face. Because that's Blitzwing to me. That's how he's supposed to be. Just like that. You know? Get yours, put whatever face you want on. That's the face I'm keeping on mine. Come back out. Alright. We'll bring in G1 Blitzwing, who, as you can see, is very tiny and doesn't stand the best because he's 30 years old, you know. And you can see he didn't have much in the way of articulation. I mean, he had, you know, his articulation, his arms move. I do have his weapons. They're in storage somewhere. I hadn't been able to track them down, but I do have them. And the weapons on this one are pretty much modeled off of his weapons, though he had to hold them sideways weirdly. That's why there's peg holes here in his hands. Yeah. So, I mean, people have been wanting a new version of Blitzwing for so long. He was always one of everyone's favorite triple changers back in the day. They're very accepting of this, but they haven't been as accepting of this. And this is a much better engineered figure. Yeah, there's the whole G1 love. I understand it. I've got it myself. But, you know, let's be realistic here. We've wanted a figure of him for so long. We got one. It wasn't perfect, but it can be made much better if you take the time. Let's go over his articulation. Come back up a little bit. Shoulders, do 360. They go out. Rotate. Nice elbow. There's a rotation at the wrist, which is a nice touch. Nothing at the waist, but that's, you know, due to his transformation. Back and forth to hips. He can go out, so he can do some, you know, karate kicks, if you can get him to stand. His knees are a little weird. You know, they're very gappy. And, you know, it's almost like a right angle on his knee. He's got a ball joint here for his ankle, which helps you get into some really cool wide stance poses. His head just is on a swivel because of the gimmick. Would have been nice to have it on a ball joint, but, you know, it's still not bad. You can still imagine Blitzwing going, "Use the long bomb!" Stuff like that. Not a bad figure at all. I do recommend him. I originally had a pre-order up on Big Bad Toy Store. Unfortunately, they never got it in, and my wife ended up finding him at Target for me. So I immediately canceled my pre-order. So, yeah. You can find them in retail. Get them for the retail price. Don't pay eBay prices, because if you're going to have to fix them, it's not worth doing that if you're paying, you know, $20, $30 more than the figure's worth. But for your Generations collection, you are going to want them. And this is why. Because you can put them here with Astro Train and Octane. I know, his name's Tankor, but he's Octane. Kiss my butt. And he looks good with them. We have our Decepticon triple changers. What more do you want? Alright, guys. You guys all be good. I've got an army of Decepticon triple changers to come after you. And he's a big bad mofo. You don't want to mess with him. And when he puts his crazy face on, all bets are off. Later.